All right, cadets brass, explaining some flexibility stuff to you today. So we developed this exercise for Unit 5 called Flow and Flex. And as you can imagine, that's exactly what's working on. It's like a flow study that goes into flexibility. Now I want to be completely honest and transparent with the horn line in telling you that we need to get better at how we sound playing flexibility. We need to sound more confident, like how we play our show music. And we also need to make sure that we're playing in tune and that we're getting through the partials much easier. My last video I made for you, I talked about the 7 different bugles. And this exercise actually is an extension of that, using using the partials, but changing the bugle that we're playing to make it into a flow study and then play it all in the open partial or second partial or whatever it might be. So some things I wanted to talk about first here has to do with flex is really a flow study when we think about it. And it's just a flow study going through the different partials of our instrument. So we should approach this the same way that we play the Vincent Chickowitz flow studies. In a calm manner, very lyrical. We're not closing up from the throat. Better flow equals better flexibility. Better flexity equals better centering. Better centering equals better endurance. You see how this works. So it's so crucial that we get better at our flexibility. It is really, a group that doesn't work on flexibility has something wrong with them. This is why you hear every horn line working on flexibility all the time. So some things about this. When we're working on our flexibility, I don't like to go too fast. I don't like to play very loud. I'm trying to play in a controlled manner. So I'm just going to give you a bunch of different tips, and I'm going to take you through the exercise. So one of the things is keeping your corners firm and set. You could think about these both being as a string and like a peg here and a peg here. If you're playing guitar and somebody's turning your pegs while you're playing, it's going to be very difficult to hit the notes in the center when you're playing guitar. Well, it's the same thing here. If we don't keep our corners, for the most part, firm and set, it's going to be very difficult to get around the instrument. So one of the things that I like to do is, besides using a mirror or filming myself, is you can take an old CD, okay, and it's reflective, you can see, and I put it around my mouthpiece, and I can see, because it's reflective, the corners. And I can watch my corners as I play. It's pretty neat. So you can carry this around in your case and always have a mirror. Now, one of the things with the corners is that they might move a little bit, and that's okay, but we're trying to minimize how much we move. The more chill we look, the more calm face, I like to say, and calm throat we look, probably the easier it's going to be for us to play. A lot of times we do over what we need to do for playing. Now, that's not usually the case with air so much, but I do want to talk about air with this. So I like to practice what I call air patterns, but I don't always have the mouthpiece against my face when I do this. When you can hear all the white noise I'm getting. But what I like to do is keep the mouthpiece away, a couple finger lengths or whatever, and I'm trying to blow my air right through the center of the mouthpiece. And if I'm doing this right, I won't get as much white noise. You can hear the notes. Right? So if I overblow, you don't hear the notes as well because the air's not going through the center. And this overblowing, as you can imagine, is blowing out the aperture, okay, and making it not a clean buzz. What we're trying to do is be as efficient as possible. With being efficient makes us have better centering, again, makes us have better endurance. So all these studies is working on multiple things in our playing. So I'll do something like a flow study or a lip slur or whatever it might be. Let's say I'm doing flow study 1. Well, if I start to get shaky, I'm going to try it again. I'm like, okay, how can I keep this calm? Because what I'm trying to do is learn how to release tension. And I'm just trying to mimic that calmness to my playing. So you can do this again with flexibility. If I hear it really jerky, that's too much. It's got to be smooth like a flow study. I find this really helps me with my starts and my notes as well, because I'm not holding back. I'm letting the air go. Okay, so we have that. You have to listen to your sound as you practice. You have to listen. Am I foreshadowing a note change? Am I getting out of the center of the horn? Do I sound out of tune? Do I sound anemic? Do I sound like I'm overblowing? So let me demonstrate a couple of those for you, because this is what I get to hear all the time. Anemic. And out of tune. Why? Airflow. I'm not using enough air. Now, enough air doesn't mean, it means, okay? So again, how would I fix that? I would go back to doing an air pattern, okay? Next thing, overblowing. Way out of tune, right? We know the answer is not to blow so hard. If I was to, again, do an air pattern, or obviously I'm overblowing. It's calm. We have to play calm. We have to have a calm approach to our instrument. This is why the most mature musicians don't even look like they're playing at all. Use drones and practice slowly. Okay? Get your TE tuner out. So I'm putting a little fermatas on the note to see if I'm actually hitting the note, but I'm also listening to the note I'm going to before I go there. So I'm being proactive versus reactive. So drones are great for working on centering, for working on making sure you're using the same tone color, working on intonation. Okay, so let's actually get to the exercise now that I've explained a bunch of stuff and how to work on it. Obviously, you have to work on the exercise before you record the exercise. This isn't a one-day activity. This is a 2-week activity of working on your flexibility, working on your flow. Okay, so you're going to mark time. You're going to set your metronome somewhere between 92 and 120. After you've worked on it, you can work on it free time and all that. So this always, the way it works is it's a flow study and then it's the lip slur. So I take things off of the partial. So number one here, rehearsal number one, it's based on the number one flexibility, which is F, B flat, F, B flat, F. So I just took that and put some things in its partial but on a different bugle. So I put it on bugle of 1 and 2. Bugle 1 and 2, bugle open, bugle 1 and 2, bugle 1 and 2, open. I'm trying to get this as easy as possible and just flow. Is the horn working with me? Is every note resonating? Or do I feel it backing up and pulling at me? If I do, let's put a bend in somewhere before the note usually I'm having trouble with, and then the note I'm having trouble with. So maybe it's... There we go. Now, side note here, when I hear people doing bends, a lot of times you're not using the air to bring the bend back up, you're using the muscle. That's not the point of the bend. The point of the bend is to use the air to bring the pitch back up. All right, so I'm getting this flow study to start to sound good. So I'm trying to approach them both the same way. It's the same air. I'm playing in the same partials, and I'm trying to make it just as smooth. Okay. Then I might apply it to the metronome. when you're performing this in your videos and when you practice, we want a clean release. No decay into the release. The note must be do, and then it's just open, okay? We normally do it with a breath. The start of the note has to start front, do, and not ha, okay? That means your air is too slow and that you're holding your air back. It's got to be in, out. I like to think about this. I spoke about this at the Houston camp. If you have your hand in water, like you're swimming, you take your hand and you go, see if I can do this in the camera. And you go like this in the pool, the water is just going side to side. It's nice. But if I go like that, or we get a big wave, we get this big disturbance of water moving, right? Well, it's the same thing when you breathe. If you go, you can hear that tension there. It needs to be, okay? And listen to the pitch. Can we try to keep the pitch low? The pitch goes up because of tension, okay? So. Okay, so you can hear that I'm working on it. The first one I wasn't super happy with, the second time did. Now I have to do it I have to keep repeating and repeating and repeating the right way, the way that sounds good. So that becomes consistent in my practice. That's the goal about practice. It's not about just doing it right. It's about becoming consistent. Okay, number 2, based on Flex 2. We have you get the idea, right? Okay, great. Now, the next bar is the same exact exercise, but we're using an alternate fingering for going to open. So this makes us use a little bit more air. Yes, the pitch is going to be different. 2 and 3, it's changing the pitch, making it a little bit more sharp, okay? But again, it's going to help. Now we start to get into some another way that I do this, that I still treat it like a flow study, and I added these grace notes in here. So we have okay, it should be smooth again like a flow study. The next one, sorry. I wasn't in love with the top note. Remember that top note's going to be really sharp, so we got to pull that down a little bit. Okay? So this is the exercise, and you should work on this in a way that you're taking your time, and every day you're gaining better understanding of using your airflow and then applying that to the flexibility. We need to be better at our flexibility as a horn line. And I expect that on this unit that everyone's going to do an outstanding job making sure they're playing one with a full sound, clean starts, clean stops, and they're playing in tune. We're at a point where we have to be able to do this. I hope this video is helpful for you in explaining the exercise. Yes, you will be marking time. The graces are really fast. They aren't specific timing. They're in between. So use the metronome to help you. You got to hit all the notes in time, but the graces are just in between. All right, hope that helps you.